Welcome everybody to the MiniMapCast. This is minimap.com.au's weekly games podcast, your favourite weekly games podcast. My name is Kerry Palmer, and joining me as always is Jeremy Bratatich.
Happy Melbourne International Games Week.
Happy Migwa.
Happy Migwa 22.
Migwa. It's happening.
Here.
It's back.
I cannot tell you how genuinely excited I am to look at my calendar and see no nights from tomorrow onwards where I'm not doing anything until Monday next week.
Well, I got news for you, Jeremy. Monday next week you're doing the podcast.
Oh fuck yeah! Oh, and I got a thing on that Tuesday as well. Oh, I got so much on. I'm so excited.
So much on.
Yeah. If for anyone that's listening to this not live, this will be released on the Friday that PAX begins. It's currently being recorded.
PAX Oz.
Yes, currently being recorded on the Monday, the beginning of Melbourne International Games Week, the first day of GCAP. So you will at least next episode there will be probably an episode from PAX, which will be fun, and hopefully I can just get that out that day. I have no idea if there's going to be video for it. I don't know what capacity that is going to happen yet. But I have a booth to record a podcast on the Friday. And then next week, I will have a big, this is what I did for the first PAX in 1,000 days.
I thought you were going to say 1,000 years. No, 1,000 days makes more sense. Yes. I am not going to PAX this year. I am both not game and quite tired. So I think it's, with the weekend I've had, I think it's actually quite a good decision to not book up for this coming weekend. But yeah, I will be sad to not be there. I'm glad that you are taking the opportunity to record a podcast there with some cool people. Watch out for that bonus episode right after you're listening to this one, basically. Anytime between the start of the weekend and the end of it, when we record the next episode on the Monday, you could probably find something from us, from PAX, from Jeremy.
Yeah, I don't exactly know what I'm gonna have. Like, I wanna talk to some people. I wanna do some interviews. I'm gonna try and track down Shuhei Yoshida.
You're gonna right?
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna see how I go. I promised my old housemate Tootie, if I bump into him, I need to ask him, if they're gonna make another Ape Escape. Which I don't know if I'll do or not, but I think it'll be really funny.
You could do it in the way of like, I'm sorry, my friend made me promise to ask you this.
Yeah,
like,
while holding a camera directly in his face.
I think he would find that cute. Like, oh, you gotta like, rather than like, Shuhei!
Yeah, no.
Tell me!
Not as like, like, hey there, Jeremy from MiniMap, the weekly scoop. I need to know the inside knowledge on the Ape Escape.
What's the latest on the newest release from the Ape Escape team?
Yeah.
Coming to you live from the PAX Australia show floor.
Yeah.
I don't remember old-timey newscasters having their voice break so much.
Yeah, again, you're really bringing in the Morty from Rick and Morty there, pal.
I don't know what you're talking about. Only people who were here in the pre-show know what you're talking about, Jeremy.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'll be at the Agders as a judge. I mean, the judging is done, but I'll be there ceremoniously as a judge, which was good fun. Got to do that.
Can you wear like a cape or like a wig?
Ooh,
ceremoniously
a powdered wig, that could be fun.
You could go the extra mile and find out how many judges there are and buy that many wigs.
That's a lot of wigs. There's usually like something like 20 judges or something.
Oh, that's a lot of wigs.
Yeah, it's a lot of wigs.
You would get in good with all of the judges. You would be remembered fondly.
Honestly, knowing roughly, having a pretty good idea of who most of the judges are, I'm sure they would all find it pretty funny. And then I'll be at Parallels free play, which is very exciting. Yeah, Sam is just in the chat, just fucking absolutely decimating me.
Just absolutely annihilating you.
Just like completely bodied in the chat by Sam.
Shuhei would find that cute. Oh, you have a friend.
Yeah, nice. Fucking owned. Like, Games Week hasn't even started and I'm just getting fucking owned immediately.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's been a very, very long time, and I'm very excited to meet people, see people, being around games again. I don't know. Like I watched a clip not
you haven't been gaming enough recently.
Well, like it's different. There's a vibe, right? Like I was watching a video from there was a games convention about 2 months ago, and I was watching someone just vlogging from the show floor. I can't. No, I think it was Gamescom.
It wasn't you at DreamHack?
No, because it was like an expo hall. And it was just people going from booth to booth. No, sorry, it was TGS. People from Australia.
Right, like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, people from Australia went over to TGS, and I saw some videos that were coming out of it. And just looking at that expo floor, and I was like, I miss looking at a game that is being showed off in front of me and being able to look to my right and see like another one that's also really exciting, but I'm like kind of like focusing on this one, and I'm like, but like I want to go over there as well. And just like the natural like going up to people who are showing off the games that they've made and being like, hello, show me the thing you made, please, because it looks really cool. And then being excited to show the thing they made. I love that.
Yep.
I'm so excited.
It's funny thinking back to last PAX
2019.
in person in 2019, like, and seeing Wayward Strand there, and what was the dog dating game? With the best friends dating game. You remember that?
The dog dating game. Oh,
dog dating game.
Yeah.
What was that called?
I saw that one.
Best Friend Forever.
Yes, BFF.
Yeah,
that game was really fun.
This is where that was fun, and Sam, that's where I got your dog pins from that are in your car.
Fall Guys had a massive booth there. Do you remember that? They had
it had a whole thing with like lines, and like it was really big. It was right near the food too. And it
also
looked really broken.
Silksong was there.
In the Nintendo booth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Did that game get it didn't get a release anything, did it? It just there was a trailer that came for it at around E3 that was coming to Game Pass.
It said it was included in the games that were listed to be coming out within the next 12 months, except it was the only one not listed in the graphic about if it would be within this year or next year. And so there's a really weird like, when's it coming sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think we'll see it within the 12-month time frame that they initially were going for, but yeah.
Yeah.
I hope we'll see.
So yeah, Jeremy, when we did that PAX, this is the last thing I'll reminisce on. When we did that PAX, we did the demo for Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yes, it was Final Fantasy, all the big games. It was Final Fantasy VII Remake, Doom Eternal
Iron Man
VR, Doom Eternal was there.
Yeah.
Hitman 3 was there. And
Just Dance was there.
Just Dance was always there. Yeah.
Death Stranding, they were showing off Death Stranding as well, because it had come out like that. It was coming out like in 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. Man.
Yeah, because I remember the Death Stranding Collector's Edition. I took a photo of it while I was in line for Iron Man VR.
Mm-hmm.
I took a photo of him. You know he's crying on that main page, on the main photo of him on the cover art?
Yeah, cries a lot in that game.
Does he?
Yeah, it's like an allergic reaction. Like he uses...
To what, a camera?
No, it's an allergic reaction to like the...
Monster energy drink?
No, to like the rain or something. I don't know. It's that game's all right.
That's so funny. All right, let's get on with the show, everybody. We've waffled on enough.
That's exciting.
Thank you for indulging us. It is exciting. Look out for those episodes coming next week or this week. Oh no, not this weekend. This coming weekend. Yeah, this weekend. Otherwise, if you're not looking for our bonus episodes, you can catch us every week on any podcast platform of your choice, or you can watch us on Twitch as we record the show live. If you like what you're hearing, please give the show a positive rating wherever you're listening to us. And if you want to join us as we record the show, sit and chat, make fun of Jeremy with Sam, we are live every Monday, 5:30 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time at twitch.tv/minimapau. We always hang out in the chat before and after, and also in the middle of the break. We're always talking, we're always hanging out. It's a good time. You can also keep up with us on our other socials accounts, or by going to minimap.com.au. The other socials accounts that we have as well as Twitch, which I just mentioned. We have Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. All of those accounts, including Twitch, is MiniMap AU is the account name. You can find us there on all of those platforms. YouTube as well, although it's a little tricky to find us on there. For example, it's a good way to know what each episode is about, because we'll post when each episode goes live. For example, last week we had a big discussion about AA games and what it means to be a AA game releasing in 2022, and it actually became quite a broad and interwoven discussion about subscription services and what AA was and what the rise of indies has meant for it. It was actually quite a comprehensive and engaging discussion. And I sound surprised only because I was saying this to Jeremy after the show, and it was like I wasn't sold on it until we did it, and I was like, "Wow, we did a great job with that. I didn't know that would happen."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go us.
We've been doing this a while.
We have been doing this a while, at least 124 other times. In fact, definitely more than.
Yeah.
We might be close to 50, Jeremy.
150. 150.
Because there's like 20, 21, 22 oh yeah, no, we're definitely past 50. Because there's like 21-ish mini disc Game Club episodes. There's 5 now pecking order episodes. And we've got bonus episodes in the feed as well for the MiniMapCast. We've got bonus MiniMapcasts, more than the ones we have numbered here.
Hilarious that no one has told us to shut the fuck up yet. That's not true.
No, I think that is true. I think that is true. I think it's very funny.
Oh, no, I mean as in it's not true that no one's told us to shut the fuck up.
I don't know. I haven't heard that. I think that the main issue is that we don't have enough people in our corner yet, Jeremy. We haven't pissed enough people off yet.
You want to tell us to shut the fuck up, Kerry? Where can they do that?
They can do that by going to patreon.com/minimapau. If you want to help keep the lights and mics on, if you want to, in the form of a question, tell us to shut the fuck up, you could do that for $5. It's as cheap as a latte with oat milk, and it helps us to continue to do this. Like I said before, that's patreon.com/minimapau. A+ on the segue, Jeremy. Mm-hmm. We also wanted to say thank you to Shook for letting us use the Moog Model the Improv as the music for the MiniMapCast. You can listen to more of Shook's music at shook.bandcamp.com. I think this is by far the longest amount of time it took for us to get to the end of the intro at the start of the show. But
that's fine.
Boy, howdy, was that a tight intro.
Yeah, it was good.
How do you want to start, Jeremy? Who do you want to go first? Do you want to hear about Final Fantasy X for the 4th time this month, or do you want to talk about Dark Souls 3?
Wrong way around. Doing the topic first.
Oh, we are doing the topic. I knew that. We even discussed the topic before we started the show.
Didn't look at the show timings, did you, buddy?
I was watching the script and I was just going. I was just going, man. The muscle memory hasn't been reset for that bit yet. That's right. We're not talking about what we're playing next. First, we're talking about the topic of the show. Like I said, last week was AA games. This week, it's the start of a new segment. Jeremy, do you have anything for this, or am I just going for it?
Sure do. There's no audio yet, but it's just there's a video. There's a video element to this, which is just a transition, a little bit of a.
So do you want to time it with me saying something, or?
The button's not working. Yeah. You tell us about it while I get this working.
So we were trying to come up with some new segments for the show and some new ways to kind of keep this going. And so we came up with a general segment idea. This is going to be the first one. We'll see how it goes. And if it goes well, we can bring this forward to other games and other topics. But this is the start of the topic called You Can Have This One. Wow, that's so silly.
There's no fade. There's no
fade. It just cuts off.
Sorry, I exported that video while we were streaming. Just before while we were recording, so there was not a whole lot of not a lot of in and out I could do with that, but I reckon.
Don't be sorry, it was very funny.
Yeah.
Welcome to you can have this one, or is it that one? You can have that one. It's you can have this one.
You can have this one.
As in, we've got a pretty good idea. Wouldn't it be cool if that existed? Hey, developers, you can have this one. So, sort of thinking about certain property. How many times are you going to bring that up?
Every time you say it.
So sort of thinking about properties that could maybe appreciate a refresh, could maybe do with some sort of new spin, something that we want to see if we can theory craft and sort of backseat game design our way into a little bit.
Yes, some tweaks, some feedback with the benefit of hindsight, some what could be a potentially better product.
Also something that we might find personally exciting, each of us.
Yeah, like we don't want it to be like hey, like we fix sort of thing, but just like hey, maybe this could have been a cool thing to do. Because we're not particularly fond of like, hey, like look, if you want to find people who are going to complain about a video game and tell you how they can make it better, there's a million YouTube videos out for that about like people who have no idea what they're talking about. I'm not saying we do, but I'm saying we're coming from it from a place of love, from a place of like, yeah, look, we really wanted this to be like a more engaging thing to us. Here's how, like, you know, here's an idea, and you know what?
Here's what would have lit a fire under us.
Yeah, and you know, if this idea is good enough, you know, you can have this one, right? Like,
you can have this one.
You can have this one.
Oh, it's very good.
That graphic is so much more produced than any of the graphics I've made for the show.
Oh, I don't know, man. The background to the podcast is pretty good.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
I'm pretty happy with that. And the transition. You're selling yourself short, man. You've done a great job with the video content.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. So this episode,
we are going to be talking about one of the other big games that I knew we did play there, but I forgot. One of the other big games we played at PAX 2019 in the PlayStation booth, Marvel's Avengers. When the booth kept shutting down and turning off.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, like I managed to sneak in, and then like the whole panel behind me turned off, which like stopped the queue again. That was pretty disastrous. So like normally when we do a topic of the show, we'll do like last week with AA games. It was like, what does AA mean, and what do indies mean in relation to? And so we don't necessarily have that for this because we don't want to pigeonhole like each other's ideas through those questions. Like if we've got separate ideas, we want to be able to come to the show with these separate ideas, and that kind of means coming without that framework. But the framework we're putting around that lack of framework is that Jeremy's going to come in with his idea, I'm going to come in with my idea, and then we're going to see if we can marry them together and make a super idea that we can then put a little bow on. And the next time we see someone from Crystal Dynamics, we can say, "You can have this one."
Yeah. It needs to be a collaborative thing, right? Like we wanna have a finished idea by the end of it. Not a finished product by any means, but a cohesive concept, we'll say.
Indeed.
So what do you got to start off with? Where's your game? Like, where does your game begin as a thing that you want people to engage with?
So obviously it was difficult to think about this one without thinking about Marvel's Avengers from 2020. Yeah. A game that I enjoyed probably more than most, or at least an average amount. I enjoyed that game. I finished it. I played it more than just finishing it. Not too much more though. And thinking about what that game did well, what it did less well, and I was also trying to not steer into the idea of the recently announced Amy Hennig Skydance Studios game, the Captain America and Black Panther World War II game that's been announced.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, you've got two heroes and two of the heroes' confidants who aren't superheroes, but they're impressive in their own right, and you'll get to play as all four of them, and it'll trade off, and they'll have their own section. I don't know. In my head, I was like, I don't want to do a framework like that, but at the same time, I think I kind of steered towards that anyway. So what I did have here was that something that's important, if you're going to make a game titled The Avengers, and you're not going to have all of the previous games, like then it's not going to be a game universe where the Avengers are made up of Spider-Man from Marvel's Spider-Man and Wolverine from Marvel's Wolverine and Iron Man from, is it EA Motive or Volition? They're dead.
I think it's Motive.
I think it's Motive. That was announced a week or two ago from EA. You know, if they're not going to bring in these, if they're not going to do the movie thing where they get their own solo moments and solo, you know, origin stories and all of that, and then we bring them together and see what happens. If it's all going to happen in this one game, we're getting introduced to these characters here. It needs to be that each character feels distinct.
Okay. Yep. I'm with you.
We need to have bespoke sections for each of the characters. Like, because I think the moment you have it be that you have one encounter and you can play it with any of the characters, immediately all of the enemies need to be the same level of balanced for every character.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you.
And that ultimately, no matter there's almost nothing you can do at that point once you've made that decision that can make the characters distinct enough, I think. Because to keep it balanced, the enemies have to do a similar amount of damage. You have to have a similar amount of health, you know, give or take, you know, 10, 15%. You need to do a similar amount of damage to everyone else. You know, if you're buffing your teammates or debuffing the enemy, it has to be by a similar amount depending on who you're playing. So you're sort of inherently limited in that way. And so I want there to be different sections for each character, and probably in a scripted fashion, I would say. Like, oh, this is the part of the story where I get to play as Black Widow, and that's not my choice. It's just the Black Widow section.
Yeah,
and that's
good the part of that
reason.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my genesis of my idea. Do you want me to keep going with it, do you reckon, or do you want to bring in yours?
I'll bring in a little bit of mine.
Okay.
Is your game purely single player? Because
I think so.
I was thinking you can have a co-op element, but I think a maximum of 2 playable characters at any moment is what I was thinking. So we've actually I might just like spitball some of mine a little bit, only because some of mine are quite diverged. For example, like I have here single player game co-op optional, and I've also I've written down here, which is kind of like this is more of the response to Marvel's Avengers. I've written here no loot. Is what I've written.
No loot.
No loot.
No capes.
One of the things that I think would be quite cool, and I don't know if you've played the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, Kerry.
I haven't, but I know they're quite brawly, sort of top-down, beat 'em up action kind of.
Yeah, like that isn't actually something I specifically want to borrow. What I want to borrow from those games is that they capture something that is quite important to the Avengers, which is that, and I think the movies are only going to start capturing at this point going forward, which is that one of the most famous and recognizable things about the Avengers is that the roster that they have is quite large and is always it's always rotating. Like there is like the classic Avengers, which people know, like Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow. In the comics, that changes all the fucking time. Like there's people like Nova coming in. There's members of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Spider-Man's in there and out there. You know, Black Panther occasionally is in there. Wolverine is quite a well-known Avenger, honestly.
But also he's in and out, just like the rest of them.
He's in and out, but he's like, I wouldn't say he's the same amount Avenger as he is X-Men, but I would say he's about a third. If he's half an X-Man, he's 1/3 Avenger, which is quite a lot of his character.
No, he's got a missing 87, a missing 13%.
Yeah, that he can be part of the fucking Canadian force, the Alpha Flight or whatever it's called. Captain Marvel is a very well-known Avenger. There's a lot of them, and like all the ones that we're getting now, Miss Marvel, She-Hulk, Moon Knight, Daredevil. They're all a part of that rotating roster of what the story needs, and the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games capture that really well, where you have Doctor Strange, you have Ghost Rider, you have a bunch of the X-Men, you have a bunch of the Fantastic Four, and you build your team a lot of the time. And they've got a really great mechanic where as you build your team, depending on the team members, you can build synergies which work well as like mechanical buffs. And like, you know, if you have all 4 members of the Fantastic Four in there, then all those members get like a giant buff because you're sacrificing potentially someone stronger. You know, the Hulk, who is stronger than the Thing, you might think, well, of course I want the Hulk instead of the Thing. But if you've got the other 3 Fantastic Four members, you've got a better synergy going on there. That doesn't quite work as well with the single player, like, you know, like this is the Black Widow section. But I think what you could do is you can have the moments where it's like, hey, like, I'm Black Widow in this section. This is like a spy mission, and I need to get in here and infiltrate data, and then, you know, Captain America can come pull me out or whatever.
To be fair, they did do that in the Square Enix game.
Yeah, so then what I'm saying is that I think being able to build your team in the Avengers moments, right? I think you need to have, quote unquote, like Avengers levels threats multiple times throughout the game.
Oh,
yeah.
So that makes sense.
Like, I think, like, and this is going to sound weird. Like, I think, honestly, the pacing of Age of Ultron, while is too short for that movie, the structure of that movie, I think, works quite well as a game. They all.
What you're saying is Age of Ultron is a great video game.
I'm not going that far. But the you know, the beginning of the game is this big bombastic Avengers moment. They're all there. They're all doing their own things, but they're all working together.
Bit of a tutorial, bit of an introduction, they're already here, they already know what they're doing.
They get slammed at the beginning, right? Like, they get their ass handed to them after that final fight where they're like, you know, they suddenly have the thing they need to avenge, right? Which at that point is what they think is Vision. They go on and then they split up a little bit, right? You know, like Thor goes to go find the Norn Stones and a bunch of them do a bunch of stuff. You know, fucking Iron Man goes to this place like the center of the internet or whatever the hell, right?
He goes to Oslo, that's right.
Yeah. They have their split up moments, but they keep reconverging, right? And then they gain more members in the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and Vision as well. And then War Machine shows up. You know, having those moments where the entire team comes together, you know, it's very important to an Avengers game.
So a quick question for you then. How do those moments work in a single player environment? And it's a question I would need to answer for my game too.
Yeah, so I think you build the team and I think you can swap characters. I think you will
like a GTA 5 style, like
No. Like
everyone's going at the same time and you can swap whenever you want.
So I think they're going at the same time and then you do combo moves, and when you do a combo move, you then take control of the other character. So you do like a giant, like Iron Man throws up, you're Iron Man, right? You pick up an enemy and you throw him, and then Thor throws his hammer at the enemy that he's thrown up, and then Thor catches the hammer and you continue that little section as Thor. You can swap on the fly as you choose, but I think that would be a really cool way to feel like you're managing a team on your own.
Yeah, a pass combo.
Yeah.
A baton combo.
Yes. I think that would be fun.
That would be cool.
To do that,
and that could like recharge Iron Man's ability points. Skills faster while you're not using him if you trade off that way.
I also think they need to feel like you mentioned, they need to feel like different characters, right? Like they need to feel like Iron Man and Thor are not functionally similar. Like they need to, like Thor really is this.
I thought you were not gonna get it out for a second.
Yeah, so did I. I was really worried. Thor needs to feel like Kratos that can fly.
Yeah.
Like Hulk needs to feel like, you know, like a.
He needs to feel huge.
He needs to feel like a raid boss, right? Like my tip for Hulk I have here is that he doesn't have a health bar. He's got like a rage bar. Like he's got like he doesn't. If he takes too many hits, he gets so angry that he's unplayable for a time being. But he's gone like full rage mode, and then
that makes sense. I like that.
You need to go over and calm him down or something.
Yeah. Yeah. For my things that it's like the different characters being different. I said like Iron Man needs to be nimble, like changing between air and land as a way to avoid combat from the ground to get back up into the air. And as soon as you're in the air, you're dealing with other threats. You could take out 2 or 3, but then they're coming at you again. You gotta swap again, get behind people, start punching people. Like you gotta be really fast. That's one of Iron Man's like sort of quiet traits is how adaptable he is.
Yeah, he is quite agile. Like and he's got a gadget for everything, right? So like there's a level of adaptability that he has, which is effortless usually.
Yeah. And so we I want the player to make that effort and to need to make that effort.
Yeah. Yep.
And not just have the like here's the Star Fox section of the Iron Man gameplay where you are flying on rails like that. And like, Hulk needs to feel as big and heavy and strong as he is. He needs to feel large. You need to feel like you are a large thing that you are controlling in a space full of things that are smaller than you.
Yeah.
Like Widow's health needs to be low and she needs to use stealth.
Yeah. And, it can get around enemies and, take them down, like efficiently and like precisely, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's fair to say that we've got a third-person game here going on, right? Like
like for me, I do. You need to see the characters.
Yeah, you want to see what you look like, and I want the ability to, these Marvel characters. The Avengers game I think does a pretty good job at having many costumes. I think that's like every now and again I'll see a new post because usually the only post I see of that game is like, hey, we added more costumes in the movies or comics or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Like that stuff is good, but I want to be able to mix and match them. I want to be able to have like my Captain America that has got the classic red, white, and blue. I love that look. I love the red and white striped bit on his sort of like stomach area.
On his tummy.
Maybe from the first Avengers movie. I think it looks quite silly and funny and goofy in that way because it looks just largely padded. But his helmet in that movie is the worst, right? He's got
his outfit in that movie is the worst.
his outfit in the movie is pretty rubbish. But the worst,
it's like a cloth onesie.
Well, the worst thing about that movie, about his costume in that movie, is that he's got the cowl. He's got this neck blue, which in the comics, it doesn't even look like that, right? So what I would want is the stupid, I want the OG, I want the wings. You want the wings. I want the wings and I want the big A.
Jeremy, tell me, what does the A represent again? Why is the A important?
America.
Yeah, okay, great.
But I also love, I love...
looks ridiculous.
Yeah. I love the look of the Iron Man armor from the first Iron Man movie and Endgame's Iron Man as well. I think both of those are really awesome suits, mostly because I think the color scheme in Endgame was really good because he's got completely yellow along the arm and then red gauntlets, basically, which is nothing that we saw. We saw red shoulders for 90% of Iron Man in the movies. So I'd want to mix those together as well, right? So it's being able to mix them and match them and have my own Avengers costumes and everything, I think is something that I would really want.
Okay, yeah, no, fair enough. And you could make like a team cosmetic loadout, like like here's my Avengers team outfits.
Yeah,
like grouping.
Yeah.
A, and then the second grouping.
Yes.
Yeah. One of the disadvantages of having to make bespoke gameplay sections and set pieces for a majority of your game is I think it lends itself to a small or a low amount of replayability, similar to a Last of Us or an Uncharted, where like, the more you replay it, the more you start to see those tricks that felt spontaneous the first time, like when a hand grab for Drake like falls away from him. It's like, oh, that happens every time.
Yep.
Like, it's like you can't.
It's like rewatching a movie.
Do those sections. Yeah. Yeah, like there's nothing there to generate content necessarily. I don't think that would be a bonus for this game to have generative content. But yeah, that is a downside, is that it does become a bit rote. It does become a bit samey if you do want to play it more than once.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer for that? Because I have one that we can workshop a little bit.
Oh, if you've got one, sure, yeah. No, I'd only gotten as far as identifying that weakness.
So what a really cool thing that at least the first Marvel Ultimate Alliance did a bunch was, depending on the characters that you brought to the missions, the dialogue would change.
Okay.
Because it would always be one. Well, it wouldn't always, but it would oftentimes be one of the characters talking that's in your team to the villain or to like a henchman or whatever. They would always, if it was say, okay, so there's a section at the very beginning of the Marvel Ultimate Alliance where you bump into the Winter Soldier, and he's a villain in this one. It's prior to him realizing.
Oh, hey Bucky, what's up?
And what happens is, like, I didn't have Captain America for the mission the first time I did it. And so I had someone like a Daredevil or a Luke Cage or like an Iron Man or something. I don't remember who it was, but they were like, like come on, like, you gotta like snap out of it, like don't make us hurt you, sort of thing. And he does a very generic, like, oh yeah, you try and stop me, you won't, and then you fight him and you win. When you have Captain America in that section, the dialogue is different. The dialogue is a lot more personal. It is like Bucky, like, we fought together. You got to remember who I am. And he's like, I'll never forget who you are, Captain America. You're my mortal enemy, or whatever. Right? It's very cheesy. It's very Saturday morning cartoon. But they do that over and over and over again. That is cool. If you match up the certain things. Additionally, and they do a good way where it's like they will have archetypes of characters as well. There's the intelligent characters, right? There's the Professor X's and the Iron Mans and the Doctor Stranges, right? So that they can match up the same dialogue for sections. When the smart guy needs to say a thing, there's a wide variety of the smart guy saying a thing for a section. So it's not going to be too out of place if Iron Man has got the same lines as Doctor Strange, because they're both, smarties. I
love Smarties.
Yeah, right. But when you bring Deadpool into it, he takes the piss. He is a Fallout game on low intelligence ass. Like, you get a whole different string of dialogue if you bring him into it. Like there was a moment where like there's a SHIELD helicarrier that's being attacked, and a bunch of SHIELD agents were like put in like their own internal prison cells and stuff, and you go, like, if you're there with Nick Fury or whatever, he's like come on soldiers, like, let's get out of here, or stuff like that. But if you're Deadpool, he's like, well, don't you look fucking stupid, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, how'd you get tricked into this? And he's like, come on, just help us out. And he's like, like, I'll help you out, but like, you gotta give me like $10 so I don't tell Fury about this fucking shit that you pulled or whatever. Like, there's no swearing, but they've got this like funny, how would Deadpool react in the situation? Which makes the team dynamic feel really great, right? Like, even if it's just every now and again, you're there with Ghost Rider and he might be referring to himself as the Spirit of Vengeance more than like, I will do it. It'll be like, Spirit of Vengeance will save you or something. They have that flexibility in the dialogue that I think helps you build that moment where it's like, oh, this is my team going through here. It is more work, and there were a lot of clone characters in that game back then. Like, that was a PS2 game. But there's a lot of cool bespoke characters doing their own flying animations and their own little attack animations and stuff. Like, there was a lot of really cool bespoke stuff now. You probably have to have a smaller roster nowadays, just with the nature of games are bigger and take longer to make. But I think it would be a really welcome addition to feel like that you can go through these levels again and they will be a bit different. Not, structurally they'll be the same, but the little moments, the stuff that makes an Avengers story feel fun and interesting is the characters' dynamics, right?
Yeah.
I think that could work in a place like that. Even if you might need to have mandatory character, the plot character, and then you build the rest of the
Thor
team.
mission.
Yeah. This is you and Thor are going on this mission. Who's Thor going with?
So how do these bespoke characters that have bespoke mechanics, how do they fit in this scenario for you? If you can pick and choose them and bring them in whenever you want.
It's hard, right? Because I think you need to structure the game around the non-optional characters. So structure the missions around the non-optional characters. So if there's a section where you got to fly up very high and get over a wall to open a door or whatever, like a non-optional character will be a character that can fly, and you design the level around that. While the rest of them, if you've got another flying character, you can use them, but you will at least have the minimum requirement.
Yeah.
That's
not a bad idea.
Not have everyone can get over that wall option. They did that in the Marvel's Avengers game, and I wasn't a fan of it.
And then when they did have it that only this character can open this type of door, and only this character can open this type of door, and then all of a sudden your team could be made of some group of people that couldn't open certain doors.
Yeah, and there was no real way to know.
Yeah. Yeah, it was awkward. Yeah. The other thing I want to have...
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, you go.
Pardon me. The other thing I want to have an occasional Avenger versus Avenger fight. I want to... And it's... not always, but that can be a big set piece. And if it's something to do with Thor, then it could very easily channel that first boss fight from God of War with the Stranger. That kind of thing. You're tearing through the environment and you're being thrown through so much. Big set piece moments like that with great, good dialogue in the middle and stakes and stuff like that. And you see someone get away because they were infighting the whole time or something. I feel like it's been done in the movies, but and obviously in the comics, but that would be a really interesting way to make a fight interesting. Maybe they design that boss fight where you can pick a side at the start. You can pick whichever person you want to play, and it plays really differently, right? If you're playing from one person's perspective than the other, because their combat's different and their weaknesses and their strengths are different.
Is it kind of like how I don't know if you played Injustice, but you can choose who you want to play in the campaign, and there's always going to be the same winner because the campaign is a story, but you get through you can play the character that's going to lose in the story and win the fight.
Right.
You'll win the gameplay part of the fight, and then at the last moment something will happen. And
the thing with an Avengers versus Avengers fight, it's always going to be well done, you all hit each other for a bunch of time and something else happened because you were distracted and now you have to put your differences aside. Kind of like the ending writes itself.
Yeah.
But it's not really about that at that point, is it? It's about interesting gameplay and interesting choices and and character dynamics.
Yeah, right. How do you see the story? Who are the villains in this Avengers?
Who are the villains? It's interesting when you said before that there should be multiple Avengers level threats throughout the game. That makes sense. It's an Avengers game. But it then becomes a thing of I don't know if it needs to be 4 groups or 4 different people, you know what I mean? Or
it could be one group and you are fighting, one League of Evil, right? And there's
there's a bunch of them in there.
Yeah. You've got some Ultrons, you got some I'm trying to think of Avengers. You can have you could have Kang, right? Kang the Conqueror, who was all about multiverse, all about, time travel nonsense. And he can pluck a Thanos out of one out of one multiverse, like an Ultron Prime out of one, and a I don't know, some other like a souped up MODOK or something like that, right?
Yeah. No, that would work. Or like, if you start going multiversal, maybe the Watchers turn on the Avengers or something like that.
Yeah, right.
They start funneling big bads at them. Yeah, I don't know. It's because I would want it to hit hard still.
Sure.
Maybe they could have it be that one of. It feels so trite when I say it. I would hope that someone could pull it off. But maybe you have it be that one of the core cast turns, Maybe it's the Fantastic Four are bad. You know what I mean? And so there's character emotional connection there between the characters because of their histories with each other. But there's also a formidable strength and a unique problem to overcome. I feel like so many villains, it's so much about just beating them.
I think I've got it. I think I might have it. So there's a story that I hope they adapt in the Marvel comics. I don't know how they're going to, considering where the pieces are in play currently. But there's a period of time in the Marvel comics called Dark Reign, which was
REIGN or like
like Reign of Evil,
right?
Reign, where
Reagan.
There was an event called Secret Invasion, which the Skrulls invaded Earth, and shapeshifters, and over the course of like in real life, like a year or so, like they would kidnap and replace like basically half of the Marvel heroes, and it was this really awesome espionage, like who is a Skrull, who is not, how far up does it go? It's great. I really hope the show can land it. From what I've heard, it's looking pretty promising. The winner of the ultimate winner of that event, spoilers for the Secret Invasion comics, it's not how this is not how the show is going to be, which you'll know what I mean the moment I say this. The person who takes the final blow is one Norman Osborn, who at that point was working with his own covert team. At this point in the comics, Tony Stark is the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. He failed to see this happen dramatically, and it was like a whole thing. And because of this, like a large part of it was his fault. This is coming out of the Civil War arc. This is after a lot of heroes were just like a part of half of the Avengers were disbanded. Thor, I think, is dead at this point. It was like a whole thing. It was like a really dramatic thing, and because it was Tony's fault that the Civil War happened, he was then in charge of the part where the Skrulls invaded, failed dramatically. He got the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. role stripped from him.
Yeah.
At this point, Norman Osborn is awarded it because he is seen as a hero on national TV as he takes out the final like big bad Skrull sort of thing. And it's like a big thing. The first thing he does, Norman Osborn, I don't know if you know much about him, not a good guy, kind of a bad guy, kind of a Green Goblin-y kind of guy. He then replaces all of the Avengers with his own villainous Avengers in the comics called Dark Avengers, and then outlaws a bunch of them. And so
Dark Avengers.
Yeah, I know, right? So but we'll do it almost one for one. Like there's like Wolverine's like adopted son kind of thing who is basically just Wolverine, a guy named Daken.
Coyote.
No, Daken, Daken.
Right.
He replaces Thinger. Like Baron Zemo's like hanging out, and there's like Bullseye joins the Avengers and stuff. Like all of these like bad dudes,
knockoffs.
Are suddenly the Avengers, and then the real Avengers need to sort of like figure out what's going on. He then like goes, mad with power and attacks New Asgard, and it's this whole thing. But there was like a large period of time where like the good guys, like the Avengers, weren't even like a thing that was really operating in any meaningful way. And it was like a long time that happened. I think you maybe do that. I think you do like all of these characters are suddenly in charge, right? Norman Osborn is there. He's got his own Avengers, and you're on the back foot. You're trying to beat him, but Norman Osborn is not. He's not Green Goblin at this point. He's just Norman, the politician, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., a very, very powerful politician. And that is way harder to beat than someone who is like in a Green Goblin suit throwing pumpkin bombs.
Yes.
So
yes.
Having, and it becomes a bit more personal at that point. All of these knockoff Avengers are there in the spotlight, and you need to try and beat them without coming across like a villain, because what you're doing is illegal.
Yeah.
The ending of that story is really funny. He goes full Goblin mode and tries to like invade Asgard, and it fails dramatically for him, and is like it's a really great story. But like it is very funny that in the final moment when Norman like is like losing and like all the Avengers just standing around him like and he's caught, at that point there's cameras everywhere, and then he turns into the Green Goblin. And I was like, oh, okay, like this dude's fucked.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I do like that.
Because
that could lead to a very that could lead to like the scenarios of the Avengers needing to run away a lot, and it being like every fight being a danger because they're at risk each time they're trying to do something.
And I think what it also does is it allows you to have this like a ton of history like immediately injected in it, right? Like you have all of these villains who are the current good guys, and you have all of these heroes which are seen as like the baddies. And so you need to like the moment they meet up, they automatically know who each other are. They're already like, hey, like fucking I used to put you in jail and now look at us. And you know, like how the tables have turned, blah, 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 blah. You know, you can have that. You can have those moments where you don't need to see all of these origins. But you can have some in there if you want, but for the most part, like you can sort of pick up what these people are saying at each other. Yeah,
no, that makes sense.
That's my thing.
I like it. I think it's good. I think it's tricky with the co-op.
It is tricky with the co-op. Even the plot, you can have the entire time. Norman is right. Norman is paranoid. Norman knows there's this force coming from like, you know, intergalactic space. He can see it happening because he's got all these eyes everywhere. And the Avengers are like, we need to become the Avengers again. And then they can become the Avengers again, only to find out, like, hey, guess what? Like, there's an intergalactic force knocking on Earth's door.
Pyramids.
Yeah.
A little Destiny reference for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the biggest thing I'm finding difficult to reconcile is the multiplayer.
Yeah, it's hard.
And the customizable team composition. But you're right, it needs to be able to be that. I think there needs to at least be segments, even if it's like 30% of the game and not more than that, of like, here's a team mission. Make your squad for however you want to take it this time, and it'll be what it'll be. I don't know how you balance it with characters that are meant to be distinctive and different and properly weaker and stronger than the others.
Yeah, well, maybe it's like maybe something very exciting. Let's say, for instance, the final fight. You choose your team. You've got 5 slots. And, I don't know, Captain America and Iron Man are 2 non-negotiables. You get to choose 3 more. Maybe what the game hides from you is that everyone's actually going to be there. These are the ones you choose you want to play as, but they're all going to be there. They're all going to show up. They're going to have that big Avengers Assemble moment.
Yeah, no, that's good. How do you still manage the gameplay though?
Because at that point, functionally, it's the same mission every time from a balance perspective. Hulk is always going to be there wrecking shop. You can always
Black Widow's always going to have a path that's a little like over their heads and around the back, and
they're all going to have their moment. It's a Hitman level at that point, right? It is everyone is always going to do their moment. It's about where you want to be to see which parts you want to see.
Yep.
I think what's the who's the person who's like the immersive sim Like person who was saying like my dream game is just a replica of a city block. You know what I'm talking about?
Not Mark Brown,
No.
Toolkit.
Like an old school designer. I don't remember.
Warren
who it is.
Spector?
Might have been Warren Spector. Well, like his dream game was like, yeah, I would love to make a game that just replicates a city block and you get to play around that sandbox. You know, not wide design, tall design. Having a level which is like every, like, you know, as Sakurai says, like everybody's here.
Everyone is here.
Yeah. Having that moment, I think, would be pretty special, especially if you don't know what's coming.
What if the level started, you always had to start it as Thor, but you could do those trade-off combos, those baton combos with whoever is nearby. You could trade off to any one of the 8 people who are there or whatever. Like,
no.
If you happen to be there at that point in time where they're doing a finisher on an enemy, you can do the pass, you can help them out, and then take over that next character's part.
Yeah, that could work. I think you fall into the trappings of accidentally falling in a laneway.
Yes.
Accidentally being like, I'm in Thor's section and I want to go to the Iron Man stuff, but the only 2 ones that are available to me is Hawkeye and Ant-Man, right? Like it's kind of tricky to do that. It'd have to be quite dynamic, I think, if you wanted to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's a way to do it. But you know, if Ant-Man's got to shrink, like he's only going to come out around a couple of people. You'd have to like find a way to do it.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's tricky. That's really hard. It's hard to balance. Like, sort of us coming together with different ideas was like, so this is how it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, like so Sam's saying, like, whoever you play, the play doesn't matter. Like, in a way, yes, but I think it matters to you because it's like most people, I think, that watch an Avengers movie, they sort of have like a favorite or two, right? And they love it when their favorites having a moment. You know, my favorite always has been, always will be Captain America. When he's got his moments, like, I love those moments. I love when he's got his Captain America TM moments in those movies. And then being able to play a giant fight and being able to say, like, well, my favorite's Captain America, I'm going to put him on my team. Then being able to live through those specific Captain America moments. But then, you know, like, oh, but I also really like Spider-Man and I really like a Daredevil. Like, I can then almost specialize an entire fight, right? When there are those giant tracking shots in the Avengers movies, when your favorite does a cool thing and then the camera immediately goes on, there's a little part of you that's like, oh, but I want to see what he's going to do next. I want to see that 120-year-old man fuck up shit with that hammer. Like, I want to see more of that. Give me more. Being able to specialize the fight to be around your favorites, I think, would be pretty cool.
Yeah. It's a tough game. I hope someone gets to try it again.
Yeah. I hope so too.
Without a Destiny layer on top of it.
Yeah, not have it be a games as a service. I want to say that I think as an industry, I hope we're moving away from that.
As like a trend to aim towards.
As a requirement for big projects.
Yeah, like, oh, well, if we're going to put this much money into it, it needs to be something that can give us money each week by the bucket load for years. Yeah.
I hope we are moving away. Like, even if, you know, look, battle passes, some people don't like them, some people do. Like, I don't particularly mind them. I think they're fine. I think it gets a bit much when every game has one, but like, I'd prefer it over loot boxes. Like, you know what you're getting with a battle pass at the very least. If that's what it takes to get these games made, then it is what it is. But like, how do you make a game of the biggest property in the world and sort of keep it a bit like not have to be a game that has to run for 4 years?
Yeah, I know. Like, how, like, the question becomes to me like, oh, you know, how much money does Uncharted make? Or did like, how much more money would Avengers have made if they'd made a quality single player adventure, 10, 12, 15 hours, that, isn't replayable, gets traded back a lot, but sells 16 million units or something like that. You know what I mean? As opposed to a middling service game. It's hard. I think it's a really hard game to account for. Yeah,
like, you know, I remember when they announced that Crystal Dynamics was making an Avengers game, and I remember thinking like fuck, like that's like no one's made an Avengers game in forever.
Yeah. What does that look like?
Yeah, right. And then it was like, what is that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think if we pull this together, I think we've got characters that feel distinct. We've got Jeremy's co-op layer on top.
We can axe that if we don't feel like it adds really that much. I think it's fun because I like co-op, but like if it doesn't have it, it doesn't have it. It's not a deal breaker for Spider-Man.
I would want to have for the characters to be balanced appropriately. I would want to have a majority of missions be single player or narratively focused / authored levels with a bit of free play missions on the side, and then an Avengers v Avengers fight, and also then maybe a knockoff Avengers Dark Force controlled by a more political, overarching, all-encompassing threat rather than a one big bad, a MODOK, even like one Thanos, you know, like it's not Thanos and the Black Guard, it's the Dark Avengers and also the systems at play that are supporting them.
Sure.
Like yeah, I think that's a good part of it, which is society being turned against the Avengers as well, which, again, they did do with Crystal Dynamics, but having to run from a very societal threat.
Yeah, a lot of the Crystal Dynamics Avengers was very much like everyone was almost, like, aside from Banner and Tony, everyone else I met was like excited to get everyone back together, you know?
Yeah.
All of these busy bees are going around these hubs that I'm walking around, and everyone is like, yeah, I am excited to be there. Hello, Iron Man, blah, blah, blah. And I get it. They're meant to be the ones that are like in on it. Like they're the SHIELD agents. They're the ones that are like, yeah, we need to get this done. But there needs to be a little bit more criticizing yourself, right? There needs to be a little bit more like, you know, having an evil Avengers be in power is the perfect like what is making us different from being the bad guys, you know, like at what point are we the villains? It's like, are we causing more destruction than we're preventing?
Like one of the best opportunities to attack the Dark Avengers team is them going to help someone or a group of people for something, and compromise.
Where the comic fails, I think, in Dark Reign is that they very rarely were not just being villains.
They were just like being bad
100% of the time. They were having like shady meetings, even though they were the Avengers, which was very funny. They're having meetings in apartment building rooms in the middle of the night, even though they are like the dominant force in the Marvel
universe. Chronically bad guys.
It's so funny. It is very funny.
Well, everyone, that's our first go at you can have this one. Thank you, Jeremy. You know, Marvel, if you're listening, if you like the ideas, you can have them. You can have this one.
You can have this one.
It's on the house. It's let us know what you think of this segment, everybody. If you've got thoughts, if you listen, if you like it, if you think it could use some tightening, if you've got an idea for a structure that would go well with it, let us know. Tweet at us or send us $5 and tell us to shut up on Patreon. All of the options are there for you. We're going to go on a break now, and then when we come back, we're going to regale you with some stories about what we've been playing this week. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the MiniMapCast. We've been discussing what the best original programming on Disney Plus is, as well as Knives Out, which is not... That's Netflix original programming. But that was irrespective of whether it was on Netflix or not. It's been a strange time. We were just talking about random stuff during the break. But it was great fun.
Just about movies,
good. Yeah. Talking about movies, talking about QuickTime events in video games and how that sort of takes away from player agency but gets to show you something cool, like a cool set piece. Sort of addressing something that Sam had brought up. But that's not what we're talking about now. If you want to have discussions like that with us, you can do that by joining us live each Monday. But what we're going to talk about now is what we've been playing for the week. It's a weird time, Jeremy. I bring to you a question that I asked you at the start of the show that I shouldn't have because the segment is now. What do you want to do first? Do you want to talk about like me finding old relics, or do you want to talk about Dark Souls 3?
Oh, I can get my Dark Souls 3 out of the way pretty quickly, and then the floor is yours.
Okay.
I started Dark Souls 3.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought about the Souls games as I've been doing so lately. Twofold. Thinking about the Souls games because I'm still trying to process part of my Elden Ring thoughts a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I haven't beaten that game, and I don't know when I'm going to go back. I watched a video that I sent you last night. Hey.
Or if you want to.
Like I do want to. I just don't know when. I sent you a video last night that was really good, which was someone going through a ultra hard mod for Elden Ring. And it was like just absolutely like super, super cool. I started playing Dark Souls 3 because that's the first one of the Dark Souls games I kind of got.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the one I didn't really know what I was doing at that point. I got up to stuff I remembered very, very quickly. Like way quicker than I expected to the point where I'm like, wow, I thought this game was way bigger. I think as I was just dying way more. Like I was like one or two trying bosses at times. And it was like, oh, like, okay, this actually isn't that hard. Now that I know how to do it.
Yeah.
To the point that I got up to a point and I got stuck. Right. I didn't quite know what I was doing. And I didn't know where to go. And I was like, oh, maybe I need to die. Because, you know, sometimes you got to die in these games to like progress the first time to like trigger like a, you know, you being able to level up or whatever. You have to do that in Bloodborne and in Sekiro. And then I like was like, well, maybe I have to die. So I rolled off and then I died. And I came back and I'm like, well, still don't know what to do. Dark Souls 3 is a sequel to 1.
Yes, it is.
Whereas Dark Souls 2 is not a sequel to 2. Sorry, Dark Souls 2 is not a sequel to 1. So like it is weird now playing 1 and then seeing 1 in 3. It is a cool game. I don't know, it's like it looks really good and it plays like Dark Souls 1 functionally, but like smoother and tighter. And so I'm kind of just genuinely enjoying it for like just for moments and like minutes. I'm just sitting there going this feels great. This looks good. I'm having a good time. I don't know. New. This is a good game.
Yep. Let me ask you this, Jeremy.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it in comparison to Dark Souls 2?
I don't love Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 doesn't feel as good as this, but also I didn't think Dark Souls 2 felt as good as 1.
Yeah.
I thought Dark Souls 2 just...
And 1 feels old now. 1 feels legitimately aged.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I like 3 more than I like 2 already.
Yeah.
Structurally, it feels like a game that has been worked on. And like 2 felt like a new one. Like, what if we tried to do something different?
Yeah, 2 is amazing in the ways that it wears you down.
Yeah. The music in 3 is great. Like, I really like the world that's falling apart. I think that's cool. Like, it's a really cool setting. I still don't know what the story is. It's once again, I'm playing one of these games going like, fuck it, I don't really know what's going on. And yet it's the same story as the other ones. Like I mentioned the other day, it's the same story. You're doing it again, and I'll eat it up.
All right, Doc Brown.
Yeah.
It's the same story, Marty.
I'm just kind of fucking having a stroll.
Yep.
I'm just having a solid stroll. I'm laughing while I'm talking about it. I was streaming. I streamed the first 2 hours of it last night. I might only play this game on stream because it seems like a pretty easy. Like, yeah, I'll just jump in for 2 hours and jump out, kill a bunch of bosses.
That's what I thought about Dark Souls 2.
Yeah, but like Dark Souls,
I think you've picked the better horse.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's just fun. It's just a fun game.
Yep. Favorite boss so far?
I've only done a handful. I really like. There's a the first boss is pretty sick. It's like a knight you pull a sword out of, and then he wakes up,
and it's like 10 minutes into the game, right, or like less.
Yeah, it's very early. And then he turns into like a monster knight halfway through the fight, and it's like, oh yeah, like you're good at these. You're good at a halfway through. This changes dramatically.
They didn't do that. That was sort of something they established a lot in Bloodborne and not so much in Dark Souls 2. And it was sort of like, hey, you know that thing we did a lot in Bloodborne? Guess what? Now we're doing it in Dark Souls.
And the game, I think, is better for it. Like, you can see Bloodborne in this. Which you obviously couldn't too, because Bloodborne wasn't out yet. But there's a cool, like, there's a certain vibe that 3 has got, which it feels like 1, but it also feels like FromSoft, right? FromSoft has got this aged, ragged, decrepit look and feel to it. Like things feel old in their games that
broken.
Yeah, like shattered, but like deliberately so, like attacked, right?
Whereas, like the Elden Ring, for example.
Yeah, like Elden Ring is a perfect example of that. Like
the Elden Ring.
Oh, right. But throughout all of Elden Ring, like there is like a feeling of like, you know, the world has been like torn up and left. Like this is just what it is now.
This is the world that was.
Yeah, whereas Sekiro doesn't start off that way, but it gets there as well. Like that world also feels attacked. They're really good at it. 3 feels like you dying. Like 3 that's what that game's about. But like it feels like a world that is disappearing.
Yeah.
And it turns out fucking they've done it again.
The vibes, they work. They're on point.
So that game's 4 years old now, or 5 years old now.
6, buddy.
Fuck.
Came out in 2016. When we were at AIE, our friend Aaron was telling me when he was playing it, and like we'd start the day and we'd be waiting for class to start, and he'd be like, "I broke a controller last night."
That's funny.
Yeah, but 2016. It was funny how much the internet popped off for Dark Souls 3. When it came out, you know, it was like, oh wow, no, everyone's here for this moment. Everyone's like, oh, new Dark Souls, yes.
Yeah.
In a way that hadn't happened for 2, and it didn't immediately happen for Bloodborne in the same way.
Yeah, Bloodborne was still coming into like people still had to buy PS4s.
Yeah, like Funhouse did like drunk first playthrough of Bloodborne when it came out, but like, and Dark Souls 3, but it was like everyone picked up Dark Souls 3 when it came out, in the same way that everyone picked up Elden Ring when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm excited to hear how you think it is. I'm, as always, excited to get to it myself. One day, maybe.
When are you going to do it? So that's right. So my other twofold thing was the other reason I'm playing it, apart from this is now one of the only ones that I know I'm going to finish, and I haven't finished. And I haven't played it in ages, is because we've got a topic that is sitting in our backlog that we'll get to at some point, which is our ranking of the FromSoft games.
Ranking of the FromSoft games. That's a good point. I think my next step is to reinstall Demon Souls and finish that.
Okay.
Because I got some of the way through it. I beat the Tower Knight, and then I started going through the mines.
That is...
I know that's not that far, but like it was a few hours, and I want to continue on that progress.
Okay. That's like a fifth, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fifth of the game, you know?
Yeah.
It's not bad. Talk to you about percentages in a minute, I promise you. But yeah, I think that's my next step. And then maybe after I've done that, I can get to the end of Dark Souls 2, because I do want to finish it. Not the DLC, I'm not going to touch it. And I'm getting close to the end.
I know.
But yeah, and then bloody hell, I don't know what. Dark Souls 3 or Sekiro?
Bloodborne.
Oh yeah, Bloodborne, there was one I was missing. Yeah, maybe Sekiro or Dark Souls 3 after that, who knows?
You can go through Sekiro, I'll enjoy that.
So, Jerry, this is a weird segment. I don't think we're not going to be here very long for this week's played games.
I don't think so.
I have not really played much this week. This week I was quite busy with work during the weekdays rather. Chipping away at Final Fantasy X, which I'll get to more detail in a bit. But on Saturday, I was at my mum's house, and we were cleaning out stuff that she hasn't been using anymore. But my brother and his partner were there as well, helping mum. But what I was there for and what I was tasked with was picking up all of the crap that I left there when I moved out 5 years ago and didn't take it with me. Stuff like Guitar Hero controllers and drum kits and microphones and all of these nice little dragon statues that I got over my young teen, my older primary school years from my dragon phase, which, let's be honest, isn't really over. But just a bunch of random stuff. But it had me, cleaning out my mum's place, bringing a bunch of stuff over, and then cleaning out my cupboard earlier today. And I just found a couple of things that I thought I might want to show off to you, to the audience, that I thought could be fun. So first, this is just a quick one, but from the last PAX on topic, this is just a little... It's not a coaster. It's like coaster shaped, but it's a little picture from Dead Static Drive.
That game's not going to be a PAX.
Play that whenever that comes out.
That game's not going to be a PAX this year.
Really?
Yeah, first time in a while.
Game's still not out. I mean, it's a small team and all that. Like, I get it.
It's like 2 to 3 people.
Yeah. I also found, and the reason I've brought this up is because I'll save this actually. I'll save this because it's related to Final Fantasy, so I'll save that towards the end. This is something I've had in my cupboard for a little bit, but this is a poster I had up on my wall when I was younger. It's an old Ocarina of Time poster.
Nice.
Of Link and Sheik fighting Stalfos and Lizalfos and Moblins. It's a really cool design. I'll get it a bit closer. But it's also very 90s, where it's a very hand drawn design. It's almost like a classic fantasy drawing. And then I also found this one today, another old 90s Ocarina of Time poster. This is just Link with like young Zelda in the top corner. But on the back we have a calendar.
Sorry, I've thrown you into the wide shot that I've got.
I see that. Hello, everybody. On the back we have a calendar for 1999.
Nice. From
Nintendo Magazine System. And it's this weird thing where the weekends have like a really grayed out image of some game for the N64. So there's like Diddy Kong Racing in there and Perfect Dark and I don't know what else. And they also mark out the times when the next issue of the Nintendo Magazine System is going to launch.
Yeah, that sounds like a little bit of marketing in there for you.
Yeah, it sounds like a 90s magazine. Yeah. I think is this Gex? I don't think Gex was on the 64. Was he?
I don't know.
I don't think he was. We've got Shadows of the Empire. Shadow is that N64 game where you take down walkers on Hoth in that game. Mario's there. Yoshi's Story, WWE. It's a whole smorgasbord. So it's not nothing too fancy. There's also this PlayStation 3 controller.
It's got a big old dent in it.
Pardon?
It's got a big old dent in it, Carrie.
Whereabouts?
On the handle.
You're right. It does have a big old dent in it. So this is the kind of thing where when I was growing up, when I was a teenager, at my dad's place, we had some German Shepherd puppies. And they were kind of like young adults, old puppies, but they had...
see where this is going.
Very, very puppy energy. And this is the kind of thing where I was like, I went to bed late that night, just in the lounge room, left the PlayStation there. I was like, I should really put this controller somewhere, but I'm just going to leave it out. And so, yeah, there is a big dent in this this right-hand prong. But more than this dent is this one.
Oh my God.
So the other side, I came back to the lounge room that next day and I said to Dad, can I have some money to go buy a replacement controller? Because Axel literally destroyed this one. I could kind of you can kind of hide it by just holding the left prong.
I didn't expect that at all.
It's incredibly sharp and uncomfortable because he completely mangled it, completely broke it.
I've got a question for you, Kerry. Is this a 6-axis controller or is this a DualShock 3? It's
a DualShock 3. Remember how I didn't know what a 6-axis controller was? It's because I've only had DualShock 3s.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that the rumble feature in there functional now?
You mean this rumble feature? This rumble feature in there?
Oh, yeah, there it is. I see it. Yeah.
It's in there. No.
Yeah, didn't think so.
This, I think it turned on, but the D-pad doesn't work because he got right up onto the D-pad. Also, the sticks are quite sticky now. They're quite true to their word. Oh, I think I've broken a piece off by holding it.
Sam's in the chat saying that those dogs are the ones that live next to me. It's true.
That's right. Those are the dogs that live next to you, Jeremy, when we were neighbors and we didn't know it.
I remember those bloody dogs.
Yeah, really loud. Really not that well trained for a long time.
So loud. So loud.
All the time. All times.
All times.
Axel would also poo on my bed. He was great. And then the final thing I found was something I pinched from work. And did you ever have those? This is a thing I'll describe to you and you'll understand. But did you ever have those Tarzos? Those things where they've got the scratchy surface, and when you look at it in the different light, I've
seen it now because you held it up on the wide shot. But yeah, yes.
Yeah, but it's got that 3D thing. I want to see if it works on camera. I've just got a Final Fantasy X.
It'll work.
Plaque, and I just wanted to see if it would warp and bend.
Yeah.
Is it working?
Yeah, you're going off.
I'm moving it off camera. Sorry.
Yeah. There you go.
I didn't know that worked on camera. That's sick.
Yeah.
This is by far the biggest one of these I've ever seen. It's like an A5 piece of paper.
It is quite large.
Rather than like a disc.
Yeah. It should look like a card, like a trading card.
Oh yeah. In like a special version of a card. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just random stuff I found. I also, like I said, I found my Guitar Hero controllers. I recently bought an adapter for those this last week. It turns my Wii Guitar Hero controllers into a PC controller. It adapts it to a USB plug-in, which I'm very excited to get. It's not here yet. But what was here was my Wii, which is where I have my Guitar Hero games. So I busted that out for a quick hour earlier today. And I think that's the last time I'm ever going to play Guitar Hero on the Wii. Ever. It was really strange and pretty bad. I didn't really like it at all.
Yeah, right.
It was, I think one of the controllers has aged much more than it let on, so it was dropping a lot of inputs.
Right,
and,
okay.
When I swapped to the other guitar that was working better, the Wii started chugging in a way that it dropped frames in a way that I've never seen it do before when I played this game. And I played a lot of these games.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll do that.
It's not good. It wasn't great. You know what else was not great, Jeremy? My Guitar Hero skills.
Yeah.
They've gone away.
As someone who tried Guitar Hero a couple weeks ago at DreamHack, I know exactly what you mean.
Yep. The skills, they ain't there no more.
Mm-hmm.
The skills what you thought were there, they're not there no more. I tried on expert on this maybe busted guitar, and then swapped guitars, and all of a sudden I was nailing the segments that I knew I should be nailing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I feel a bit better about myself. But then I got to the solos, it was like, ah!
Yeah.
And screwed it up, and then went to hard and nearly full cleared it. So I'm right in where I thought I should be. Minus like 10%.
Yep.
Once I got rid of the dodgy guitar. But man, I'm so excited to never have to use that on the Wii ever again. Let me tell you.
Yeah. They're old now. We were used to better.
Yeah. I mean, the Guitar Hero on the Wii looked like crap when it came out because it was going up against the PS3 and the 360.
Yeah.
Like HD output.
Yeah, like I've got it on 2, and I'm sort of thinking like I can probably find the nostalgia by playing Guitar Hero on the PS2. But like,
oof.
Yeah, like I at that point I'd get a PC version and just cop a nice controller.
Yeah, that's what I think is the future of Guitar Hero going forward, and that makes sense because the games aren't being made anymore. Like, it makes sense. Yeah. The other thing I've got here is Final Fantasy 10 again. Still haven't finished it, but getting to more of the endgame stuff. Following a checklist to get all of the celestial weapons, all of the ultimate weapons for each of the players. And what that means is you got to do something to find the weapon. You got to do something to find a sigil based on a zodiac sign for it, a Saturn or a Venus or a Mars sigil. And then you also need the Saturn or Venus or Mars or whatever crest. So you need 3 items per character to get the celestial weapon. Because when you get the weapon on its own, it's crap. You upgrade it once, it's still crap. You upgrade it the 3rd time, beautiful, best weapon of the game. And there's a whole bunch of random crap you need to do to find the weapons, find the sigil, and find the crest. And turns out it involves some really, really menial, boring crap tasks. Like actually legitimately bad game design tasks.
Yeah, right.
Have you heard of the lightning strike achievement / challenge / mini game in Final Fantasy X?
Nope. I have not heard of almost anything about Final Fantasy X.
All right, well, let me tell you about some of the worst parts. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
So there's this area called the Thunder Plains. And it's a pretty cool area in the game. And one of your party members is like, do we have to go out there? I'm scared of lightning. You do. It's whatever. If you're walking on the path, you're not too likely to be struck by lightning. And there are these lightning rod towers that sort of absorb lightning shocks as you go past. So you sort of run between the towers across the path. But if you go off the path, your screen will flash white every now and then. And you have the option to press the action button, to press X, to either dodge out of the way or miss the prompt and get struck by lightning.
Right.
And get knocked back a little bit. To get one of the crests or sigils, one of the upgrade things for the weapons, you need to dodge 200 lightning bolts.
Okay.
In a row, consecutively. And the window on these things is really not that long. I've been following a guide, right? And this guide was like, one of the key things to remember with the lightning dodger achievement is that you've actually got longer than you think you do. It's about a second. It's bullshit. It's absolutely fucked off, false. It's just not right. It is incorrect. I don't know why this person thought that. There's actually a trick you could do where right next to one of the lightning poles, there's like a crater in the ground. Just outside of the range of the lightning pole. And if you go from the pole to the crater, you will instantly trigger a lightning strike. And that's the only replicatable way to do it. Otherwise, it's completely random and really easy to miss because your mind starts to wonder, oh, you're struck by lightning. Your streak is over. I couldn't get it above 5 the other time I did it, just trying to do it normally. And so began the task of waiting for lightning to strike this spot. and hitting the button too early and losing my count, and then hitting the button too late because I was stopped paying attention because I was up to like 76 or something, wiped. I did do it today. I got to 200. It took me about 40 minutes because a common theme with these mini games is that one of the common top recommended suggestions and tips for them is to make sure you're taking breaks every 10 to 20 minutes because you're going to get frustrated and there's going to be nothing you can do to stop you from losing. And so you need to take breaks to make sure you refill your patience. Like, it's a common thread with all of these games.
Dear, oh dear.
I'm watching them and I'm like, I'm trying to be here. And I'm like, I can see how these are designed. And I'm watching them and I'm like, you just could have easily made it so much less awful.
Yeah,
like,
right.
This is only like an end game thing because it's designed poorly, not because it's difficult or a challenge. It's a challenge because it sucks. It's just bad.
Yeah, right.
Like, even if you just had it be that you had to dodge 200 lightning bolts, even that's onerous enough, let alone doing it consecutively. Like, good God, it's awful. There's another minigame that I had to do, right? And it was one I'd done previously. When you do it previously, you had to get under the... It's a chocobo race, basically.
Okay.
And you start off from this point across this big field called the Calm Lands. It's this big plain. Lots of grass. It's a grassy field. And you start on this cliff near the entrance and you go all the way to the exit of the field. It takes about 35 to 45 seconds on chocobo back. There are balloons on the field and they knock 3 seconds off your time. And then when you get to the big open field, there are these seagulls that come at you both. And when you get hit by a seagull, that takes 3 seconds. That gives you 3 seconds on your time.
Right.
But it also stops you in your tracks. So it's more like it adds 5 seconds to your time.
Okay.
These motherfucking birds, these heat-seeking missiles.
Yeah.
And the balloons are randomly placed.
Oh, yeah,
so,
naturally.
So the way to beat this in the first place is to get under the, like... Because you're racing the other trainer, is to get under the trainer's time of like 20 seconds. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it takes 45 seconds to get there. So what that means is you need to take off more time than you gain by getting more balloons than you hit birds. And by also not taking too long.
Right.
So that was hard enough. And I did that when I got to that area the first time. To get the upgrade material for this celestial weapon, you need to get the time to 0.
Right.
You need to completely eliminate the amount of time it takes for you to get there by getting so many balloons that it completely negates all the time it took for you to get there.
Yeah, right.
The problem is these birds are they come out of nowhere. Like they fade in from the top of the screen and they're really fast. And if you're in the wrong spot, they will combo you like sort of 4 or 5 times until you're out of an area because you're just in the wrong spot. You're in their spawn zone. And you don't know where that is unless you find out the wrong way.
Yeah, right.
So then it becomes, I could find out the areas where these birds won't immediately fuck me. And it's on kind of the right-hand side of the screen. But guess what? The balloons are randomly generated. And half the time they're not over there. So I can't get enough balloons over this side of the screen, or I can go over there and just get pummeled by seagulls. And I'm looking at the design of this thing, right? And the other thing, there are invisible boundaries along the course. And if your chocobo hits those boundaries, it immediately turns you 90 degrees and takes control away from you.
Nice.
So if you're trying to like avoid a bird and you're against this boundary, all of a sudden you're fighting it. You're steering left to get away from it. And it's like, no, hard right, left, hard right, hard right, hard right. And you just can't control this thing. The boundaries are invisible, so you don't know where you can or can't turn.
This all sounds really good.
It's horrendous, Jeremy. The only thing that got me through it was the brand new Snarky Puppy album. I just put my headphones on, I muted the game, and I just grooved out until I did it last night. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I can kind of see the design of this. So they send 2 birds at me and 2 birds at the trainer. And so you can kind of game it a little bit, or it's like, the bird's coming for me. If I get it to hit the trainer, that's bad for the trainer. But also, it makes the other bird despawn and gives me more leeway to hit some balloons before my next 2 birds come for me.
Right.
But it's all bullshit because the balloons are random. Their spawn is random. If you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time, you can get comboed into oblivion. Like, it's so bad. It's actively bad.
That ain't good.
And I just thank God that there are guides and videos for this stuff. You know, like this game came out before walkthrough videos. There were walkthroughs, but
they used to be on disc at that point.
Yeah. This is the time where when you looked up a game FAQ, you printed the whole thing out so you could sit down with it at your. I literally found when I was cleaning out some of my stuff, I found the time trial times for Mario Kart Wii, and I showed it to my brother. I was like, "Check this out. Here are all the times for the mushroom circuit."
Is there any cool ASCII art on it?
Not in the guides I've got at the moment. They're more modern.
That's a shame. The ASCII art was one of the best things about the old GameFAQ guides.
What a hallmark of the HTML game guide, right? Like, who was the poor bastard who figured out that you need to dodge lightning 200 times in a row to get the ultimate weapon for Lulu? You know, like, it's got me like sort of retrospectively pulling my hair out. You know what I mean?
Well, as long as you're having fun.
I kind of am, ticking the boxes and overcoming these challenges, like knowing what it is. I'm posting it to Twitter, like with like a "if you know" kind of a deal, and like that's fun, seeing who is like, "Oh yeah, I love this game," or "I never did this," or "Oh, I know what you're up to. Good luck. I'm so sorry." Like. That commiseration is good, but it's it is fun seeing more of this game than I've ever seen before.
Right. Cool.
That's it, everybody. We're done.
Weird.
It's a weird week. I'll try to play some games this week, because Jeremy's not going to have any time to do anything except be a little socialite.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot.
It's going to be fun though.
It is going to be fun. I'm excited.
You're going to get the press first time with your press badge. You're going to be in on the show floor for an hour before the public.
Yep. Hop in at 8.
Do you know what you... Sorry, go on.
I get to go in at 8 o'clock.
Oh, at 8? When the show opens at 10?
9.
9, all right. Okay, I forgot that.
I think it's 9. If the show opens at 10, then I go in at 9.
Oh, okay. You've got an hour.
Yeah.
Do you know what you're going to try and book yet? Do you know what's going to be there?
No, like a lot of the bookings have been largely like, like just come by the booth sort of thing. Like you can book times if you want. It's not quite as
strict.
It's not strict, but it's not quite as structured openly as it used to be. A lot of the big players aren't there this year, so like I want to have like a quick loop around to sort of see like, okay, like what is going to be like the long lines, and can I skip those, basically? I don't mind waiting a little bit, but like when it comes to like waiting like 45 minutes to an hour, like I don't need that. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to see.
You're there for the show.
Yeah, like I'm there to sort of like just stumble into things.
Yeah. And I mean, you've always gotten a lot out of the indie booth too, which is...
Yeah, exactly. So see how I go.
Last PAX 2019, when I was there, was the first time I waited in line to play demos, whereas previously I was cynical and like, oh, these games are going to come out, or I'm probably not going to like it, and I never did it. And that was when I enjoyed PAX the most, was when I waited in line to play Avengers. I waited in line to play Iron Man VR. I waited in line to play Final Fantasy VII.
A Final Fantasy VII demo you did not like.
I hated that demo. Isn't that funny?
I don't know why.
I didn't hate it, but I really didn't like it. Yeah. Maybe and
you liked Avengers.
I did like Avengers. I liked Avengers about as much as I liked Avengers, though.
Right.
Whereas the amount that I disliked Final Fantasy VII Remake was completely out of proportion to the amount that I loved it when I got the game. And even when I played the free demo that came out before the game's release in like March that year, like I even loved that demo. I was even like, ooh, I want to go back. And it was the same gameplay from PAX.
Yeah.
Just not in Japanese.
I remember coming out of that Avengers demo being really unhappy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like venomous.
Yeah, I remember. Because I wanted to be like really positive about it, because like I'd spoken to the PR person and I wanted to like be like, oh, hey, here's us talking about your game. But he was so upset with it that I never did that because you were so grumpy with the game. I was like, I can't send this.
Yes, you can.
What's the fucking point of that?
Yeah, but like PR isn't like, it's like, what do you want to be advertising or do you want to be like, do you want to have your own opinions?
That's a good point. And I didn't really think it that far ahead. I was just like, oh, I gave someone my business card and then messaged them on Twitter. You should do that, Jeremy. You're gonna give people your business card and message them on Twitter?
Yeah.
Solid move right there.
Maybe in different orders.
Whoa. Hey now. Do you want to take some of my business cards?
No.
Fair enough. It goes to a website that isn't active anymore. Email address. We're going to finish this up. We're just rambling at this point, but thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. We're going to talk a little bit about the Deadpool 3 announcement earlier this week in the post show, live on Twitch. But for those of you who are listening on a podcast service of your choice, thank you so much for listening. Next week, don't forget, not only are we going to be talking about all of Jeremy's PAX feelings in the main episode, but there's going to be a bonus episode in the middle there somewhere, recorded at PAX. Do you want to say what you reckon the topic's going to be, Jeremy?
Nah,
give the people a tease.
I mean, I have an idea, but let's not commit to anything in case that doesn't happen.
Okay, cool. It may not happen, so you can find out when you see the episode. Like I said at the beginning of the show, you can follow us on all of the social accounts for Minimap. That's at MiniMapAU on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're on Twitter individually as well. Jeremy, where are you on Twitter?
At Obi-Wan
I am on Twitter at KJPalmer_24. Follow me for in-progress screenshots of all of my Final Fantasy X progress. For those of you listening on our podcast service, make sure to give us those oh-so-tasty 5-star ratings. It does mean a lot to us, and consider joining us next week for the live show. For those of us here in the live show, stick around for the post-show. And lastly, if you wanted to support us on Patreon to help keep the lights and mics on, you could do that by going to patreon.com/minimapau. And for $5 Australian, you can ask us questions to answer on the podcast, tell us to shut the fuck up, and all of that helps us out greatly. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us. We'll be back next week with 2 episodes. But until then, like I said already, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week.